Hey guys, my name is Jill Abanico. I'm a beauty and this video will be a tutorial. Hey guys, my name is Jill. I'm a beauty, fashion and portrait photographer, and in this video I will show you how to edit a sunset golden hour look in Photoshop. Okay guys, now let me take you to Photoshop. This is the base I'm working with, and this is the final look I am going for. This is one of the pictures I took in my last videos. If you haven't seen the video yet on how to fake a golden hour light with a flashlight, then click in the top right corner. The video is linked down there. And as you can see, this picture is not really golden hour-ish enough. So if you Google golden hour, this is the time in photography right after the sunrise or shortly before sunset. You will find pictures like these where the colors are more golden and rich, and also the shadows are softer. Okay guys, so let's get back to the picture. As you can obviously see, the background of the field and also the sky are not really golden hour-ish. So to begin with, this picture is already retouched, as you can see here. This is the before and this is the after. And if you would like to have a more in-depth retouch basic tutorial from me, then just let me know in the comments. Step number 1 to get this picture into a golden hour look is to subtract or change the colors in this picture that are not fitting to the golden hour scheme. And our golden hour scheme is more red and yellow. So by pressing Ctrl, Alt, Shift and E, I merge the layers. On a Mac it would be Command, Alt, Shift and E. And I convert this image into a smart filter, so we can always get back to the way it was and work in a non-destructive way. Therefore we go to Layer, Smart Objects, Convert to Smart Object, and I open up the Camera Raw filter, and by this I press Ctrl Shift A. All in all, I want to make this image a little more warmer, so I slide the white balance more to the yellow tone, just a little bit. And I also work with the HSL adjustments. And as I know that there's also a lot of yellow in the greens, I slide this hue more to the left. As you can see, it goes more red. And also the greens more to the left, like about -28 and -27, depending on the image. But it's always depending on the image how far you can get to the left or to the right. I leave the saturation like this and also work with the yellows and greens in the luminance. So this gives the picture a little more depth. Okay, that's it for now. So you can already see that there's a subtle change in the colors. This is the before and this is the after. Now step 2, and for this I have a really special tip for you guys if you want to take your color grading to the next level. Normally for beginners you could add a sunset hour look to this picture by adding up a color lookup adjustment layer and set this layer from the 3D LUT file to late sunset. And as you can see, this is overly saturated and not really beautiful and too exaggerated for my taste. So what you can do is, of course, decrease the opacity. But for me, this is just too easy and not accurately, as I only want the sky to be touched by this, and also perhaps some of the highlights in the picture in her hair, but not the all over picture. So what I do is I delete this first, and I have this action called Luminosity Masks. What luminosity masks are is this. The action separates the picture in highlights and in darks. And as you can see here, the action already has put several channels in different so to say levels. Like here, this is lights 1, and when you go further down, all the lights are separately put into masks, and you can work with this in your color grading. This is also the darks and the midtones. And how you work with these masks is as follows. I want to put some more sunset look into the highlights, but not all over it. Only, I think, in lights 3 we have a good amount of highlights separated from the rest of the picture. So everything that is white in this mask will be revealed, and everything that is dark in this mask will be hidden by the adjustment. So just let me show you. I click on this mask, so it reveals lights 3. I hold Control and click on this mask, so this will be selected. And then I go to the Adjustment tab and click on Color Lookup. And here you will see that the layer is applied on this adjustment layer. So now let's make it look like a late sunset again. And there you go. That's the before and that's the after. So let me just show you the difference between a normal adjustment layer with a color lookup table at 100% and the same color lookup with the adjustment layer and the luminosity mask. So as you can see, these are really subtle changes, and you can really color grade your picture at a more accurate level. So now let me sum up the steps I already did before. This is the base, this is after the camera raw filter, and this is the color lookup adjustment layer with luminosity mask. So for the next step, I used a plugin called Infinite Color Panel, and this is very, very useful for the professional color graders, retouchers, photographers among you. To give you a quick overview on how it works, you click Create, and what it does, it combines a lot of adjustment layers at one time and groups it into one group. So as you can see here, this is the infinite color group with the different adjustment layers. And what it does, you can just click create until you find a color scheme you like for your picture. And also you can put a mask on this group to adjust it only to one luminosity mask. Back to the picture. So for my taste, this is still a little too green, and to make this easier for you, I just copied the action for the luminosity mask also in the video description, so you can download it, and also the red shadows adjustment layer. So basically this is a mix of the curves adjustment layer, the color balance, the selective color, a gradient map, and also a color lookup, and all combined makes this group of the red shadows. And as this is far too saturated for my taste, I just applied it on a luminosity mask, namely D3. Yes, I only want to have the whites that are revealed here in a red color. So I hold Control or Command on a Mac and click on the luminosity mask and go back into my Layers tab and click Add Layer Mask. So now this group is only adjusted to the whites of this layer mask. So you can see here, this is the before with the green shadows, and now it's a subtle change, but really adds up to the final look of the color with the red shadows. Okay, now to step 4. This image is already looking more golden hour-ish than before. This is before, this is the after. But I want to change the background color here of the crops. So what I will do first is to give a little more dimension. Because of this look, it already got a little more flatter, and I want to put more contrast into this image. And by this, I create a curves adjustment layer with a luminosity mask shadow. So I choose the dark areas I want to change, and let's take dark 4. So I press Ctrl and click on dark 2. So it will be selected. I go into the layers tab and click on the curves layer, and the curves layer will already be applied to the luminosity mask I chose before. So what I want is to give it more shadows, and therefore I put a point on the middle of the RGB curve and drag it a little bit down, and I will apply the opposite on the highlights. So again, I go into my Luminosity Mask channel tab and choose the highlights this time, and this time I only want to choose lights 2 because it also applies to the face a little. Press Ctrl and click on lights 2. Go into the layer tab and the adjustments and click on curves adjustment layer, and also here I will just pull up the mid section of the curves RGB layer just a tad. So if I group this and set it to contrast, you will see this is the before and this is the after. It's just my taste and I like it more contrasted, so this is just another step in between. But now back to the color. Now the last step for a final color touch is putting another sunlight spot into this picture, and therefore I create another layer, and the hotkey for this is Ctrl Shift and N to create a new layer, and I will call this Sunset Gradient. Then you can press G on your keyboard. I'm already in my gradient tool here, and I created this gradient map already, so I will show you how I created this step by step. Okay, now when you are in the gradient tool window, normally you are set to the default black to white, and to create a new one you just click here, and I will show you how I did this exactly for the sunset colors. The first color is set to white at location number 0, and when you click here you just pull your cursor to the white top left corner. The next color will be a pastel yellow, and this is already set at the right yellow, but I will show you the code. It's at location number 20 and set to CFC 768. But don't worry, I will write down all the settings for this gradient down in the video description. Next one will be a pastel orange at 44 with this color code BF8F56. Hit OK again, then click another one, and I'll set this to 79 and put a pastel red color in it, CF8671. So now the last color here will be gray, and this has a special reason. The code here for is 808080. So now that we have prepared the gradient color, I can now set a kind of sunset spot into the picture. As you can see here, it's like a sun, and I can put it wherever I want. Just click and drag, and then you can just put a fake sun into the sky. And I think this position is good because also my flashlight was about in this position. So now, how do we get this from here to fade into the picture? We set the layer to soft light. And this is also the reason why I put a gray fade into the gradient, because everything that is 50% gray will not be visible when the layer is set to soft light. So I'm quite not content with the outcome yet, because the gradient of the sunset I put there with my gradient tool is not perfect yet. So I hold and press the spacebar and the Alt key and drag my mouse to the left so that my picture will zoom out, and when I release those keys I will go back to my gradient mouse cursor again. So I can drag and click outside of the picture, and as you can see here, the gradient is already a little more settled. So now this is the final position of my fake sun, and now I just do some little changes because here in the rim light it's a little too saturated for me. So what I do is making a hue saturation layer and just really desaturate. And as I only want to hit this part here, I click on this white layer mask and hit Ctrl I so it goes black, and then I press B to have my brush tool and hit G to set it to black and white, and the foreground color will be white. So I press X, so when you press X you can change your foreground color. So everything that will be painted white on this layer mask will be revealed. I set my brush to an opacity of 100 and the flow at about 60 and paint on this specific area here where it's just too saturated for me. This is the before and this is the after. As you can see guys, I'm always working with subtle changes, but bit by bit these changes really add up to the final picture style and the all over color. So now it's done. This is the before and this is the after. Guys, I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. Definitely give me some feedback on how you like this tutorial, because I'm still gathering some experience on how to do this the best way so you can understand everything. Keep in mind that when you want to capture a certain effect, already capture it in camera on set, because it makes the retouching process definitely more easier and also can save you a lot of time. Give this video a like, share it with your friends who want to learn something new, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Instagram. That's a wrap. Stay safe, shoot safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys. Definitely make the retouching process